Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:05 and I'll call this meeting to order. It's not on the agenda, but I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to invite all of you to join us up here at the table if you are interested. It would lead for a more productive conversation. Historically, anytime school board members attended my meetings, I've invited them to join us,
Well,
even though this is not a joint session.
yeah, there's 4 of us here, I'm not sure
They're
we're
not
that
allowed.
Are they even allowed to hang out? There's 4 of them together.
Just.
Okay.
10-4.
Okay.
All right.
She's the boss, that's you want me to.
Does anybody have minutes from the last meeting?
No.
I'll take a motion to table the approval of 12/17's meeting minutes till our next.
I move that we table that until our next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed?
One abstention. I abstain.
Very good. One abstain. Steve abstains. Updates on the budget. I listened to the school board meeting on Monday night and it sounds like there's been a lot of forward progress on the goal already. Is there a new version of the budget available? Because we don't have it. Like, has the school board seen one?
She didn't have it at the school board meeting.
Yeah, I've got a copy of it here, which
Oh,
I
you
get,
have a copy.
yeah,
Huh?
Is there a reason we didn't get one
can we zero?
from Melissa?
Did they get that?
Is there a reason?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
We understood at the school board meeting that a budget was passed out. A revised one,
Version 1C.
1C and.
Yeah, we only got one B's in our budget binder.
Is there-
We have a paper copy, it did not come in the packet at all. Yeah, you can make copies.
Should we make copies?
Yeah, there is, right over there. Kyle can help you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have it.
No, this is for this one. I give it-
Yeah, we got it in there.
Got a paper, but then it's, I guess, yeah, I'll take that. Good.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody can hear me there.
We can.
Jamie.
Oh, good. So I am here. Sorry, I've been amiss. I'm in Oklahoma finally and settled for a few weeks. I can probably send you, Lori didn't post it because she was still trying to make a couple adjustments, but I could probably send you to your email addresses. I think the latest of what was shared at the board meeting. Unless you want to just work from the paper that you have.
Is there anybody that can report on the highlight reel instead of us digging through that line by line, since none of us got to go through it? I do know that some things.
It's not a line by line. I have a consolidated one.
Oh, cool.
Yes, please share, Jamie.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
All right, hold on. Oh, shoot. All right, give me 2 seconds. Because I'm not on SAU70 email. I'm on SAU104. 1 second.
You need on 60, Jamie?
No, I'm on my part-time job. Why don't you let me send it to you? Give me 1 second, because it's starting to catch up to itself. Ryan, what's yours? And then you can give it to everybody else
It's
for
our
SAU 60.
Yeah, R Schoonover at SAU60.org.
At SAU60.org. Okay. Oh, ignore the typos. All right. Come on, girl. Let's see. Download. It's this one. Just make sure it's the right one. Okay. All right, there you go, Ryan. And I think this I think this reflects cuts from the superintendent costs and the vocational director and a few other things, but I'm not sure exactly how many other things. Sorry, I've been traveling for the last few days. But I believe this is where the administration was with the last version. Y'all still there? Yes. Okay, good. I didn't knock myself off. Alyssa, you might want to just look at one of them to make sure it matches. I'm thinking it does.
No, I'm sure.
I got my car back. I'm really excited. No, I'm waiting. I don't know. We don't have please. Yeah. Hey guys, I got it and I just forwarded it to you.
Thank you.
It's just the first page. So one page up. And then.
That should have said Tulsa. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, does anybody want to make any comments on the updated budget? Might be hard to do with a minimal amount of review time.
No, I would need more time before I had any comments.
Fair. Fair, right?
Right.
Was that a minute?
They went to, so now it's 36,849,381. That's the new proposed budget.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
That's for
Very-
general fund, yes. Because as you know, food service and all other funds are money in, money out, so they're revenue neutral. So it would show a 2.28% increase over last year, approximately 820,000. Which if you keep track of CPI is a little below CPI at this point. And we've absorbed 650,000 increase in health insurance. We lost 978,000 in adequacy aid. Special ed out of district, which we have to comply with, is up 500 and I think 518,000. And the public voted to approve a warrant article for the Fall Mountain ESSA increases in a prior warrant article in a prior year of 269,000. So this is where we are.
You're right.
Happy to send you that. That was all information, whoever's taking notes, from the November 24th presentation, I believe on slide 3. Might have been 4, not sure.
Last call for update on budget conversation before we move on. All right, moving on to public comment. Is there anything the public would like to comment on this before we proceed with the rest of the meeting? I put it here so that the budget committee could take input and into consideration before we move on to the rest of the discussions tonight. Hearing none, moving on. Got $1.5 million discussion. There is a 2-page document, which is a synopsis of our meeting that we had on the 7th with our thoughts on how we're getting to this. Does anybody on the budget committee want to talk to this document a little bit?
Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
Sure, okay, so we met on the 7th, as we all know, and we had our conversation, focusing on, really looking at what, what was presented, which was the previous budget number was just over 39 million, and looking at, the documents that were presented at that meeting with the slideshow. And then we had discussion around, what does that mean in addition to the teacher's contract, in addition to the capital improvement warrant articles, and all of those conversations. We looked primarily at the high school and what was going on in the budget lines from the high school. And so takeaway from that conversation was that as a committee, we voted that we should look at a $1.5 million reduction, which equates to a 3.82% reduction from that $39 million number. So that's just kind of the synopsis here. Does anybody want to add to that, or does anybody have, any? Steve and Jamie, you guys weren't able to attend, so I don't know if you have questions or if you want to talk about it further, or.
Jamie has her hand raised.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So hold on, because I got to get back over there. Okay, I didn't mute myself yet. Sorry. So when you're saying 39, I just want people to understand that the document you're looking at, when we say 36, it's when you say 39, it includes food service and it includes the grants. So if you're going to talk about it, when we say the new one is at blah, blah, well, so the new overview sheet that I sent is actually at 38,908,114 if you're going to include all other special revenue and food service, which have offsets. Okay. So when I said, when we talked about it a minute ago, I just don't want people to think, how'd you lose 3 million, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. I just want to point that out. So when I talk about it, I talk about the budget totals for general fund because that's what issues taxes. Tax assessments are issued off the budget totals for general fund. All other funds in the amount of $2,058,733 do not usually affect taxation because they have revenue offsets. With grants, other special revenue funds, you can only spend what you receive. So that does not affect taxes. With food service, you hope you only spend what you receive. Okay, because it has revenue offsets as well from the federal and the state. So I just want to point that out. That's all. Thank you.
So really, at the end of the day, we went down about $100,000. Roughly, rough numbers, right? So in my thinking, that only takes out like the CTE director, not much more than that, which I think there's a long way to go. I don't know if what the school board's approved or not approved, so just if you did something great, if not, that's okay too. I think the superintendent should come out of the budget and let the committee give it a chance to run for a bit.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I figured that, but just,
Yeah, it has to be. So the one that was shown, the budget, the board had a vote, I believe, at that meeting to reduce it by the superintendent dollars. So those would come down out as well.
well, that's already in the 36,849, is that correct? Or not correct?
My understanding, well, my understanding was that and the director came out, but that there was some other, there was, an $83,000 appropriation that was put in the incorrect line and needed to get taken out, so it did increase in one place, so there's some ins and outs.
Right now, the bottom line is that the school board removed about $100,000 from the budget, which I think is insignificant compared to the problem that we're at.
Well, we're not.
The perceived problem from your point of view, yes.
So if we took the all-in number before of the total budget, if I look at the proposed total budget now, Jamie, check my math. Or somebody check my math, I'm not directing you to do it, but. So it's 38,908,114. And we proposed a 37,781,386. The differences in those two numbers is, and my phone's in the car, so I had to do it, longhand.
Oh.
But I think it's 126,728 unless I totally or no, hold on. No, never mind, I'm an idiot.
I think you lost a number there.
Number there it is, okay, it's 1.1 million. I was like, okay, there we go, never mind. Got it, we're at, so it's $1.1 million. It's late. Been a long day, I promise. Okay. I was just trying to figure out where we are on the scale, like for where we proposed and where we
I
are.
would look at the budget total line and not worry about the total budget at the bottom.
Mhm.
Because like Jamie said, and has told us many times, that it's an in and out, it's just zero. Money comes in and money goes out, so really it's the budget total line that we gotta worry about. And right now, it's, like I said, it looks like about $100,000 difference. from what we've been given to this document here. So I think the areas to look at carefully is the high school for sure. Why the high school is going up $587,000. That's a significant increase. At least I feel it's a significant increase.
The high school carries the bulk of your personnel. So with a 21% increase in health insurance and agree.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
I don't know, I'm losing you, Jamie, but I get your point. But I'll also point out that the other schools all were able to overcome the increase in health insurance and reduce their budgets. So why couldn't the high school do that? Or could be similar to that?
So at our last meeting, we did, talk about the removal of the superintendent position and benefits came to about 208,000.
Yeah,
So that's already been,
that's been in here.
so it's more than what you're saying.
Well, no, but I understand it's already in the 36,849, 381 number.
And then what Alyssa was talking about, the 80,000 was, regarding
Right.
bus savings.
The question still remains in the document we got tonight. Are those reductions in here already?
I don't think so.
I don't think it
I don't
was.
think they are.
I don't know.
That was at our last meeting, that's when we voted on that.
The CTE was, but I don't think the superintendent.
That's superintendent.
No,
So it might be $200,000 less or so.
208,000.
Yeah, okay.
36.6,
I remember talking about it.
so 36.6.
Mhm. I don't know.
Potentially.
Without knowing the detail, it's kind of round numbers again.
This has been removed. This one they said.
Did you have other stuff on your list, Steve?
Well, you guys talked about the reduction in staff. I didn't talk about that. I didn't know what you guys thought about. I wasn't there for that, but I think 6 of them. But I would add to it that it's between the SAU office, high school and IT.
Is anybody
I
else?
wasn't there for the
Yeah.
personnel discussion, so.
First,
Go ahead.
we have question is, what is the number, previous one, before the budget, the bottom line number?
No, we were looking for the proposed, the FY 27 proposed budget total
So I don't,
prior to this document. What was the number before that? I only have the total. So I guess I could just
36,940, 283.
36, 940, 283. All right, Chris, do you want to talk about, the teacher, this?
sure. So one of the big things that we talked about at our last meeting, and we didn't get into too many specifics, was the number of, if we just get to it, that we're gonna there has to be some reduction of staff. We think there's room for it. And if you start
based on
looking at
what?
what's that, ma'am?
Based on what?
Oh.
She asked.
Well, based on student numbers, classroom numbers, so if we, because as a budget committee, we have to have input numbers, we have to start somewhere, right? So we know the state allows 30 per class, nobody's ever gonna hit 30 per class, although it was in the high 20s when I was here. So we have to start somewhere, so I've done a little bit of homework in graduating, created a whole bunch of spreadsheets on what we have today. So if you take 30 and 25, I can report to you that currently we have in math 14 students per class. Is that okay with everybody? I mean, these are the things that the board has to come to terms with. So, and this is under a block system. So they're only teaching 3 blocks. We know under the CBA, they get a 1 block, an hour and a half to prep for the next day. So, but if you were under a traditional system, you'd have 7 kids per class. So if you go drop that down to 3 teachers under the block system, current block system, you'd have 19 kids per class. So what I'm saying is we have a declining population, and we have for the last decade, the number is trending down. And now we've been reported to us that those numbers are gonna even further be exacerbated next year. So we have to look, this is where I see the cost is, what would the administration doing their due diligence, going through and looking at the plan? And the same thing goes for English, goes for social science, goes for all of these different things. Example, if you go to block system, 4 teachers, social studies, 17 kids per class currently. If you went to 3 teachers, it'd be 22. If you went to 2 teachers under the block system, it'd be 34. Okay, that's a little bit more, we know. But if you went to a traditional system, 4 teachers, you'd have 8. 3 teachers, you'd have 11. 2 teachers, you'd have 17. The mix is you have, the other thing which goes along with this is your offerings. So currently there's 12. If you reduce that by a teacher in the block system, it'd go 9, but we'd save $111,000 a year. If you go down to 2, we'd go down to 6 class offerings, but we'd save $222,000 a year. And our cost per student would be $1,000. But if you went to a traditional system under that program, you could go down to 2 teachers, have 17 students per class, and still have 12 offerings. The same as you do now, if that is what the people so want to do. But that would save us $222,000. And the average cost to teach the student would be $1,080. So somewhere in lines, I have this with 25 students, with 20 students, we get to, it begins to level off. But these types of things, it's viable. The reduction in staff is viable. It's more than viable. In fact, when you look at ROTC, and we have 2 teachers. Their total S&B is $220,000 a year. The average cost of a teacher is $109,000, and the average cost per student is $6,455, but they only have 34 students. So, okay, that looks like we could reduce at least to 1 staff because he's teaching 5, 5, and 10 in those blocks. How's that conducive? How's that effective for us as taxpayers? So there are costs in here, and we don't augment or modify what's being taught, but we do reductions, modifications. And this stuff should have been looked at a long time ago, and quite frankly, but it's, I know we've been changing lots of superintendents over the last 4 years. But it needs to have a hard look at this operation. And it's like that for math, English, science, social studies, phys ed. Well, there's a health and education. There's 2 there. Maybe not a reduction in staff. Foreign language, I don't know how I'd have to ask the administration. There is a Spanish, 39 students. There's a French, 42 students. And then there's the ESOL. I don't know if that position's required. I think it's a second English if it's required. Well, that's 5 kids, 5 students.
It's required.
Well, then you answer the question, but I have to do the math just to show you how all of this kind of comes together. So if I take that out, it still is only going to be 14 kids per class if I take Michelle out. Under the traditional method, we get down to 7. There's more opportunities, but I think the framework needs to be looked at. I would further say in facilities, we have to think outside the box. I know these conversations have happened before. We have about a $230,000 cost for 2 employees there, and we should be contracting out that work. We shouldn't be utilizing that staff or that approach to solve our problems. Also, it would help solve method 6 for Charlestown. If you reduced in that manner. So that every community, if you really did have a plumbing issue that you had to call somebody in for, it would be directly billed or go against that community. Right now, Charlestown bears the brunt of 45% of $230,000. And they go wherever they need our call. So there's a lot, I think, that should be looked at in this framework. We have to, and now, it's just the big scope of things. Open enrollment might be coming. The districts are changing around New Hampshire. And if we don't start looking at, we want our kids to have, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm fighting to save it, is what we're trying to do. We're trying to save what we have. But like all companies, nobody wants to say this, we need to look at the expense side of the balance sheet. I'm not a revenue-driven guy. We have to fix what's in-house. We have to control the house before we start thinking about revenue approaches. I know we're going to think about them. I know there's opportunities, but this isn't a field of dreams. This is taxpayers' money. And that to me is the biggest thing when we start talking CTE, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do extra things. I think it's all good in a grandiose way, but I'm looking at the numbers as we're trying to put the zero in on that this is what we have in front of us today. How do we wrap our arms around it, control the cost, and be effective at educating our kids? Some things might have to go. I know what I would do, but that isn't what I'm supposed to say. I just know there's opportunities here to make real reductions that don't hurt. We still get the same numbers. Everything I put together, you still get the same number of offerings, or maybe we don't offer some of these extra classes or scenarios because there's not many kids in them. You know, they needed to fill a slot with something. Some of that's real. That's how that comes up. So, and I'm going to be happy to share all of this. And I would even say this, I haven't put the expenses in here. This is all based on S&B numbers, salaries and benefits. I don't have this expenses that go towards each of these programs, which I'm going to try to put in here, and it's going to push everything up. The cost of each student section is going to go up per student. And then when you get to CTE, there are some programs that are a little robust. And maybe those things have to be, modified, looked at again in a certain picture. How do we approach? Because some of those CTE programs, when I crunched the number finally, I was rushing today, is they exceed a math course. They exceed things. So what is effective? What is it that our district wants to do? I'm just here to tell you there's a lot of avenue here. I'm just saying staff, I'm not looking at special ed. I know nothing about that. I am not bearing my mind there. This is just on staffing. Facilities, hypothetically, if you chose to reduce 2 facilities, that gets rid of a new van purchase, that gets rid of liability insurance, that gets rid of gas, it gets rid of all of the other ancillary things that go along with that cost.
Are you talking about closing schools?
No.
I'm sorry, yes.
No.
Yeah, sorry, Sarah, yes, facility operations. And there, I mean, I can go on, there should be cost sharing, whether it's secretaries, maybe we go from 2 to 1 in a certain parameter. There's a whole bunch of things. That I think administration and the board, the framework needs to be reset. It's time.
So,
If you start looking at CTE courses, you have to start looking at AP courses as well, because CTE courses are just as important.
I'm not gonna disagree with you. come from an agricultural family, so yes, I agree, we have to have.
We worked really hard to build our CTE program, and and to build it as a positive program that kids don't feel is a second story program. It is, those programs are rigorous. And they prepare kids for going to college. They offer kids college credit. Some of them do, so.
Listen, to back up, we had a good discussion our last meeting, and that's not the point, is that we know, but we're looking at modifying costs and how to CTE. I'll agree with you. We need CTE. We've also, hey, can we work with Claremont, electrical, plumbing? You know what I mean? I mean, what's the scenarios here? I'm just hopeful that we can get our administration and our, the board to say, yeah, we need to relook at things, because I'm looking at the cost saying, wow, I can go through here and go chink, 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 and still meet educational requirements, not cut a course, not cut anything, but employees. We still have the same number of offerings. We still are way below student numbers per classroom. State requires 30. They also require 43 offerings we're required to put on, but we have, in my calculations, in the 90s. We're double the size in offerings.
Chris, Jamie wants to jump in.
Oh, sure, please. I was waiting for Jamie to say.
No, I have a question, Chris. That's a
Yes,
lot of
ma'am.
information, and thank you for all your hard work on that. Can you just, quickly summarize like the number of positions that you think we might be able to cut with a change in those class sizes for the, I'm going to call them base classes?
If you yes, it depends, Jamie, on what approach you wanted to take.
Yeah.
But we could at least in the block program, at least
Yep.
cut one from, do you need to know the sectors, or should I?
No, just
With-
total
there's at least
FTEs.
Six teachers.
Okay. And then when you
And
talk
2
about,
from the facilities.
okay, when you talk
That's
about
3
facilities and
persons.
maintenance,
Yes.
what were you thinking? 1?
2,
2? Okay.
yes.
I'd also
Okay.
like to add on facilities
Thank
and
you.
maintenance. That if we were to go to a contracting out model, besides not having to carry the benefits in a full-time employee, there's also warranty expectation. If our employees mess stuff up, we cover the warranty expectation. If a contractor messes our stuff up, we get to make them fix it for free. So there's a hidden value in that.
so what you're suggesting, Chris, and again, I wasn't at the last meeting, but from what I'm listening to, you're suggesting we cut 6 full-time equivalents, not
Yes.
necessarily teachers, just in general, 6
If I'm not allowed to use that, yes.
full-time equivalents across the board, right?
That's from high school, 6 from high school and 2 from facilities.
Yes.
8 full-time equivalents,
Yes.
right? How you get them is always up to somebody else, but
But
you're
that's-
recommending we eliminate 8 full-time equivalent positions.
Can I clarify something?
Absolutely.
Jamie, doesn't doesn't the Army reimburse the school for a portion of the cost of running the program?
They used to, yes,
Used to, meaning you're not sure, or they don't?
meaning I'm not sure how much. But yes,
Okay.
Jay Rotzi, always had an offset.
That's something to keep in mind as
Yeah.
you're running your expenses.
Well, for that matter, I mean, what would be what I tried to find, what's the revenue coming in on, our ag program? We know we have $50,000 in just expenses in the ag program.
Sorry,
Yep.
go.
Okay, and what's the revenue for currently for ROTC then? I mean, what's the offsetting? How many students are coming in? There are things that we should be looking at. I have a lot of questions. You know, and it's all in the numbers. I mean, I was quite flabbergasted by some of it when it came out. And we, at some point, because I understand if you don't go to block next year, which I'm a fan of traditional, I know, and that's neither here nor there. We get, or a hybrid formation, because I know we have CTE, something. If we get back to it, it is a cost-saving mechanism to go back to traditional / hybrid. I'd love to see the model that comes together. I know how that works. But it is, you know, I clashed both block and traditional methods together. And by the way, I did it, just so everybody knows, it's a 7 period for a traditional, but I only utilize 6 periods as being utilized. Because we know under the CBA, all teachers at least should have one prep. And the same thing with block.
What was the cost for, when you said facilities, what did you think the cost savings was for facilities?
$229,790. And if you divide that by $100 an hour to hire somebody from the outside, that's just 100. Someone can use more if they want. That's 2,297 hours worth of
It's a man year.
manual labor by somebody billing, coming in and doing it. And I would like to know, I didn't look at, because I would just, you know, want to get in the weeds. How often do we use outside when the job's too big? I'm just saying we should start outsourcing and using our local contractors and get a contracting list. And those folks be managed by our facilities manager, when those things need to be done. Sorry, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it. That's my approach. And then that cost would go directly to CMS, Walpole, Elsted. And it would benefit Charlestown, yes, because currently we pay 45% of their cost. And that goes with tech and anything else. Overall, I just see that the educational system is coming to a flux. And there's going to be a lot of competition maybe coming with open enrollment. There's a lot of things. And if we don't get the expense side of the balance sheet in hand, like you do at home, you can't overspend your means. I just think from there, if we can get it down and get the belt tightened around it, we can look beyond then and see how we can modify and change and be even and improve ourselves for the district.
I think Jamie has something else to add.
So you talked about managing your home budget. I took my video off so that it wouldn't mess up and make me cut out. Okay, so it's not, sorry about that. So I know a lot of the conversation, I'm sorry I wasn't there on that Sunday you met. I know a lot of the conversation has been around how much we keep giving back every year, right? And so when you look at the amount of money we've been giving back, it ranges between 2 or maybe 2.5% of the entire budget. I want to put that into personal context for you, because that's on a budget this size, That amount of money being returned is not huge, okay? So say you make $100,000 a year and you have a 2% variance, right? Maybe in your expenditures. You know, that's like $2,000. And so that's like if you had a boiler go south, that's more than $2,000, right? So like we're talking about, I just want to put into context the fact of the amount of money that we're returning to the taxpayers is between 2 and 2.5, maybe 3 on a few years back when we really couldn't fill positions. That's not huge on a budget this size. And what we have to remember is that we were not able to fill all of our positions, you know, coming off of COVID. All of our positions are currently filled. And here's my concern about cutting $1.5 million out of a budget. Can we do it and try to operate? Sure. We're going to affect programming. Okay, it is going to affect programming. It will be different. You know, my first year with a budget committee that set the rate cut $911,000 from my budget, just the number out of the air. Did we survive? Yes. Was it painful? Yes. Okay, $1.5 million is a big number. I'm concerned that we're basing some of that on the give back. And doing that now that we are fully staffed is dangerous. Because if we go into a budget season next year still fully staffed and you think we're going to continue with surpluses coming off of salaries and benefits that we've experienced, you're going to drive this budget into deficit. And that's a whole nother situation. So I just caution, let's find a middle ground that makes sense. And again, I appreciate all the hard work and effort that you've put into the numbers. And, you know, if there is room to make adjustments in class sizes and class offerings without negatively impacting the bulk of our students, then absolutely. Things like that, probably we need to go back and sharpen a pencil and look at from an administration standpoint. So that's all I want to share. Okay, thanks.
I'm not sure how it fits into the equation, but I'm gonna continue to push that we dissolve the health insurance capital reserve, which is now around $775,000, and put that over to the revenue side. Taking that, if that happens, and you take the CTE director out and you take the superintendent out of it, you've got over $1 million worth of reduction without touching anything. Yep.
You do, Steve, but doing it with a revenue is a one-time situation.
Absolutely, totally agree with you, Jamie.
Okay.
But a lot could change in March that could affect everything, and I think you have to take a bold approach now as
A
best you
lot
can.
could change in February that could affect a lot.
Right.
Sorry, she just,
I agree that it's a risk, right? Also taking 95% of the adequacy, is it adequacy aid that Lori was using, the 95% number?
we've
Yes.
amended that.
You brought that back to 100%, yeah, because that's a conservative
Yeah.
position, and right now you can't be conservative with these kinds of increases. But I don't know if that's in this number either.
And the next time. Maybe go to the next page.
Well,
No,
Steve, that wouldn't be reflected in the expense, Steve. That would only be reflected in the projection of tax rate with the
That's
revenue
correct.
offsets. Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, again, I'm looking at trying to help the tax rate a little as well.
Yep. To ease it. Yeah. Understood.
Ease it a little bit.
And she spoke to those, I think, a little bit at the last school board meeting, and she'll be releasing those shortly. I'm sure to the budget committee before the next meeting that we have.
Yeah, good. I don't know, what was with the CTE in Springfield group? What was the push there to reduce that? I wasn't at the meeting, so I have to,
To go elsewhere.
other than Springfield.
Yes, other than Springfield, because at $10,000 a student, that's our cost, and that's not including busing. That's more than what we're paying for math and everything else. I'm not saying it's not a good program, nobody is, but the cost is now.
But yeah, but my understanding, and mine might be wrong, so, is that if Keene doesn't offer the program in their CTE center, the only other choice is Springfield. And that's why we send the students to Springfield. Is that correct?
Yes,
That is
they can only go to Springfield if it is not offered in Keene.
Either here or in Keene.
The truth of the matter is, if it's a $10,000 appropriation that we spend to River Valley and we receive 2,700 of that tuition, it's still costing 7,500. These are very rough
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah,
And so, and then we talked about it at one of the last meetings was, do you help that student find that opportunity somewhere else? So maybe they can't get it in Keene, but maybe they set up in ELO. And so we did start talking about some of those creative and alternative options for students instead of using.
Like in
River
or
Valley.
something with businesses.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it is on the table. All of these things are on the table and are being discussed. So I just want to make sure that everybody around this table knows that nobody is saying this is the budget we're going with and we're making no changes and we're offering the prime rib plan.
The thing I'm always afraid of is trying to be everything for everybody. And I don't think any district will survive doing that. I mean, what's the best foot forward, right? If I just, hypothetically, if the CTE programs in New York, is the district gonna send me there, or is that not within reason? I'm just,
Don't be foolish.
okay, see,
So we say no to things like that.
Okay, all right.
Just so
so,
you know.
well, then you answered my question is that, you can say no. It's just you're trying to do the best you can to get the child or the.
And there are
student.
some terrific programs
Right.
at River Valley. That's
Not
without.
denying that.
There's people around this table who understand exactly what they're offering, right? And we've supported them for a really long
Yeah.
time. But it's not to say that there's not a discussion being had.
That's what we're asking for. I think it's cool, dude. Yeah.
All right, CTE.
I don't want anybody to kill me over this question, just so I put that out there.
Miss.
So when Jamie, when you said, when you give back 2 or 3% a year, like the surplus, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. It's not a big deal. I don't understand why the 1.5 is, because it's 3.8%. So I'm kind of confused. Like, am I looking at it wrong? Or like, I just don't understand.
It depends on what level you're at when the money goes back. So the budget, if you're using this year's budget number, it's going to be a different percentage. But historically, in the last couple of years, it's been running at 2 or 2.5%. And I don't know that it was a full 1.5. I think last year we gave back, we redirected some of it. So if my numbers aren't perfect, I'm sorry, I can fix those. I mean, I can go back and research it so that they are, but I mean, they're running very, very small to the amount of the budget, in total. So, and you want to do it by what's that?
I guess I second
What's
Chris's
that?
thought. With Jamie, you saying it's about a 2%, their surplus about 2%. So therefore, we're asking for about 2% now, 1.5 million. So not to play devil's advocate, but if Jamie's saying this is not that big of a, it's not that much, and I understand we're fully
I didn't
staffed.
say it wasn't that big of a deal. I think I said that in the context of things, it wasn't large. And so we've been giving that back based on salaries and benefits because we haven't been able to fill positions. And now all of the positions are full.
Right, so Chris, the thought is that now that the positions are full, we will not have
Money to give
the
back.
money to give back.
Okay.
And so if we reduce the budget by $1.5 million, then that's dangerous, right? That's what Jamie said, that it was dangerous because we're meddling with
Cutting.
Well,
Okay.
what will happen, or conceivably what could happen if we couldn't, we would still have to cut somewhere, but it's going to cut into programming, right? If all of your salaries and benefits that you've been projecting and budgeting for and not been able to fill, which is when we looked at where most of the surpluses have come from over the last 3 years, that's the bulk of them have come from there. And now that all of the positions are filled, you know, I know that it was in the letter, I believe, that you sent, that part of what you're asking to be cut is because we keep giving back large surpluses, you know, and I'm just trying to explain that we've been giving back large surpluses because we haven't been able to fill all the positions. I'm concerned with all the positions filled that when we try to cut $1.5 million, thinking that half of that could come because we keep giving back surpluses of 700, 900, 1.2, you know, over the last 3 years, I think it was, that it's going to affect programming, right? And you do run the risk of going into a deficit situation.
I completely understand what you're saying about being fully staffed, but I guess I look back at those years that there was a deficit, and did we suffer programming like when that happened? Because we seem to do just fine without that then. And I understand what you're saying about fully staffed.
Yeah, we've never had a deficit. Okay, I never had a deficit in 11 years, and we've never had a deficit appropriation. And I would hope that we wouldn't be moving forward, because we would either cut programming in order to not do that, or freeze the budgets.
Can I get some clarification on what we mean by fully staffed? Because I have what our employment listings are pulled up right now. And so when you say fully staffed, I'm thinking everything is fully staffed, not just teachers.
Mm-hmm.
But when I pull this up, I can see, like, I could get, like, there's obviously like substitute nurses and stuff, which are important, like we need those, but we're not.
Right,
So
but
technically, when I read this, like, we're not fully staffed, even though they might not be full-time positions, because we don't have, not even looking at stipend, like, we need a bus driver. Open until filled. We ASAP need a sub bus driver. The district is looking for a substitute custodian as soon as possible.
Substitutes are not considered part of the FTEs.
Okay. But what about support staff then? Because Charlestown Middle School has been looking for an inclusionary para since August 19th of 2025. And then we've got Charlestown Primary has been looking for a para since September 10th. And then you go back to the bus driver. So I don't feel comfortable saying fully staffed, because we can't run, even though that might not seem like a lot of money, those jobs are also important. So I don't want taxpayers and people that are watching these meetings to think that we've met all of our needs, because we haven't. Because we need a bus driver, and support staff are crucial to all of our students. So someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see us as fully staffed if we don't have the staff that is meeting the needs of all of our students right now.
And as you know, working in a school district, from one day to the next, you can have a person in that position, and then 2 days later not have a person in the position. So you just listed like three support staff.
But Jamie,
But-
I agree with you and I understand that
Yeah.
things change and like the special ed world, like you have to
Yeah.
add staff in if there's move-ins and stuff.
Right.
But we've been looking for at least one of these staff members we've been looking for since before school opened.
Correct. And when we don't have some of those people, not necessarily in bus driverville, but in some of the other staff positions, we then redirect the money to have to contract services if they're not being provided, not necessarily within the classroom.
Staff then is what you're, that's where I think my confusion lies, because remove the bus driver, that's fine. But support staff has been looking since August. The job was posted on August 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud, but I'm just trying to understand because again, this para, an inclusionary para for 30 hours a week, that reads to me as we have a student that needs that support and we knew we were
Correct.
getting that before the school year started. Therefore, that's not fully staffed. Please tell me someone if I'm missing.
No, and if
Something.
you want to be technical, yes, that would mean that there's an open position. What has happened then is they've moved a staffer from somewhere else because you're right, on a one-on-one inclusionary para, there has to be a body with that student or we're not meeting our IEP needs, which by law we have to do.
Yep.
Right. So we've robbed from Peter to cover Paul, right? For that one or two positions. And you know that they go up and down as we look at them each month. You know, I'm going on based on what I've spoken with the administration and the HR department about. We're like, okay, so I won't say fully, let's say 93% or 96% fully staffed. I don't want to be accused of lying here, so I'll adjust my statement.
I just am asking for clarification because I just want to make sure this is a lot and I want to make sure people that are watching and that are going to review it or voters in general, like want anybody to be up at the deliberative and it'd be like, well, I'd rather have the difficult conversation here. I don't want someone to be like, well, we're not fully staffed. And then we're kind of put in this spot of, that's all. I also just need a clarification because maybe above 90% is considered fully staffed. Like, I don't know if there's like a threshold, which is really why I was asking.
I think that's what.
Thank you.
We are the closest to fully staffed that we have been in a long time. And to be fully staffed will hardly ever happen because of that in and out of kids and et cetera. But when we are, to look at where we are in terms of staffing right now and where we have been in the past, when we had such an incredible return at the end, surplus at the end, is as if we are fully staffed.
Yeah, no, I would agree that when I went through the whole list, there is 21 open positions. I think a lot of them are coaches.
Yeah.
And some paras. I think there's only a handful of teachers. Probably on one hand you can count.
And I was very careful to look at positions for
Right,
this year. Like
right.
I wasn't, and like, I know like some school, like there's maternity leaves and
there's a
medical
lot-
needs and
yeah.
things like that. I wasn't looking
Yeah.
at that. And I'm not saying anyone's untruthful. I just want to make sure that we all have the right information because these are big numbers and these are big conversations. And I just want to make sure that I'm also understanding each part of it.
Chris, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Jamie, I don't disagree with what you're referring to as a $1 million effect that we've talked about for the last 4 years since this board has come aboard, and you've been very helpful, at least to me, in understanding my developmental process, where all the revenue is coming from, and these types of things. Having said that, we know a majority of our we've given back or our surplus was a lot of times in para position in some of those FTEs as well. So I think what we've assembled, at least in broad brush in this, is that was in our background. For me it was, but that's not how in 4 years we've ever looked at the budget. We're not those folks who are just gonna put a number on the table to just because it feels good. We haven't done that in the past. And that's not what we're doing now. That's the way everybody on this board would have been, proud of mostly is that we want to be constructive and help come up with alternative solutions to help. And we are looking at numbers. That's what we're supposed to do. And these are viable things that they should be looked at being reduced. And all staff, if we are fully staffed, I'm still advocating we reduce teaching positions. It's right here in the numbers. We have too many. And we can support losing them. And if we even get more kids, we still have the room. I mean, example, English, 5 teachers, right? Right now, the average is 16 per class. If we went to a traditional system, it'd be 8. But here's the big thing for me. What was so revealing was that they have 15 offerings currently. We can go to 18 offerings. They can do other things than dystopian literature. They can do all kinds of things with 18 offerings. And we can cut 2 English teachers and save $212,000 and still have more offerings, more choices.
Chris,
Yes,
are you recognizing that there's
5?
2 semesters?
Yes.
Teach both
Yes.
semesters?
Yeah, the numbers just roll into the next. That's what would happen, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're,
Necessarily.
Yeah.
Semester 1 does not, just get mirrored in semester 2.
Well-
Different things. So I just want to be clear that
sure,
without having semester 2, there's more information to be added to this conversation.
Because building that schedule, I used
Yeah.
to build the master schedule. It is
fair.
and to be able to put kids into classes, it is
Trying.
it's a dance.
Arduous.
It's an arduous task, yes.
Yeah, and I don't, for all intents and purposes, it would be the system below. Yeah, each of these systems might have variations, but we're not gonna add, let's say, English classes currently carrying 240 kids in it this semester. What percentage is it really gonna change next semester? Is it gonna be 400? Probably not. We got plenty of room under if you even added a 10 or 20% to that, you have plethora of room per class. So I'm just saying, the numbers show that we can reduce it.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you about that we can
Right.
reduce it, and I feel as if we're being scolded.
No, I'm sorry,
So
no.
I just wanted to be clear that we were very clear with the administration asked us to please be very clear.
Yeah.
Where we as a board wanted them to look, very clear, because we said you have to cut more.
Yeah.
And, so we were very clear with them that we wanted them to look at the high school. Because that was an area that we thought, yes, there's a whole lot of, that's where the majority of kids are, but it's also an area that had not come down like the other schools had. And so we saw that too and asked them to really please take a look at that and really closely look at what their numbers were and where they could cut. And, we said, we have to reduce the tax rate.
So. I don't know where we are exactly, but one thing I want to bring up too is the health benefits. To better understand how we came up with 21% increase. I think it's a deeper dive that has to take place where we look at the increase per program and the number of people that are in each one of those packages and then see what the increase is. I'm not sure. I think we're just taking this overall global look at it when maybe the first plan for singles only went up 3%. And maybe it's the family benefit that went up so much, or multiple family benefit that went up so much on a much more elaborate plan. So maybe there's only 3 people in that plan. So you have to kind of figure out what the whole aggregate looks like. And I don't know if that was done or not done, but I really believe that strongly that the board should look at that with Lori and dig deep into that to make sure that that 21% is a real number. And it's not, just total to total.
Man.
Yeah,
So we do know that Lori has put in actual numbers for what, the plans are for next year, based
Right.
on the number of people who opted for the family plan, for the
Okay.
couple, for the single. And also included in that is the people who've opted out entirely and who receive a stipend for not taking the
Right.
insurance. So the 21% is across the board where we're at. This is not something the board can negotiate outside of our CDA.
right, I understand that, right.
And so it's not something we can actually change, but what's in there are the actual numbers.
Numbers for each category,
Absolutely,
so the whole
Of course.
aggregate went up 21%.
correct. Health Source, in the last few years has heard districts say we need an actual number to put in our budgets. So they've given it to us. We know what it's gonna be. We know that we're not cheating
like it.
anything, but. And, so is the nature of things. People go into education
Right,
for the benefits.
right,
They bring a lot of families along with them because it can't be gotten in the public sector any longer.
Right.
It's a tough thing that we've had to deal with, but we do. We value people coming in, and so that is an option that they have. So I will tell you that those are actual numbers. They are not guesstimates. They're not gonna
right.
change, outside of people
Yeah.
coming and going.
Then it's real, I mean, that's the way it is.
The 21% was on the rate. And my hand's up, so I'm just gonna continue talking. How's that? So, is that all right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, good. So Chris, thank you. And if I apologize to the budget committee if I implied that you were blindly grabbing at straws to cut the budget. That's not what I meant to say, okay, or imply. I know that you all have put in a lot of hard work looking at everything, and you've been very thoughtful, and you've had really great discussions. I know I've been there for most of them. I'm sorry I missed the last one. So if I implied that, my apologies, okay? It's not what I meant to, it's not how I meant to come off. I just know that in the administration of a budget in school districts, $1.5 million it's a big number. I also appreciate that you have run numbers and looked at what you think could be adjustments and given suggestions to the administration on where they might be able to look to possibly make changes in the programming that wouldn't hurt the students, because that's why we're here, right? So I just wanted to say that. I don't want to, I don't want to imply that you're not doing due diligence and doing a lot of hard work, because I know you are. All right. And I do appreciate all of you, because it's not a easy job, and it sucks, right? To have to say, listen, this ain't gonna fly, and we need to go back and fix it. And I just want you to know that I know that we know as a school board that the administration, they received the letter. They are looking at some of the information that you provided and asked about. And I'm sure they'll take from this meeting some more information and go back and look again. Because, we want to try to come to an amicable agreement where both the budget committee and the school board agree, right? We don't want to put up a warrant article that's not agreed upon, because that's not a fun place to be either. So, okay, that's all I want to say. Thanks.
Jamie, it's Amanda. I have a question. So we're negotiating the contract for the teachers now. That is obviously not included in this 36.8. Do we have, in previous years, I don't know exactly how I'm trying to ask this question, but do we have an understanding of how much that is going to impact the contract is going to impact this number? Because when we talked about it last week or on the 7th, we had come up with around 600,000 for the year. And that was through math, right? And what we had done before but is that, can we expect another 500,000 plus on top of this 36.8 for that? Am I making sense? I guess.
You're making sense. The agreement has to be tentatively agreed to before the numbers can be shared out.
Yes.
I'm gonna defer to Alyssa because I did miss the last meeting because I was traveling. Once a tentative agreement is reached with this between the school board and the union, then the information will come out for the warrant article. So the warrant article will show you what the cost is for each one of the years that it may affect. And for at least the first year, there would also be a projection of what that would do, both to the budget overall and for a projected change in the tax rate. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Yes. I'm thinking, sorry, and answering your
Okay.
question at the same time, and you're not here, so I'm talking to an owl, so and I feel foolish, but
Oh, that,
yes.
I mean, I can see you. And so I don't have the exact dollar amount of that number
Right.
that I personally can share because I don't know where I believe we may have TA'd an agreement at the last meeting, but I'm not positive that the union TA'd it as well. Sometimes the board has to TA it first, and then it goes back to the union for a TA. And once they say, yes, everybody's TA'd, whatever, then the information can be shared publicly from both of the groups.
All right, so then follow and tell me if my logic is flawed. So right now, we're at a 2.28% increase with the 36.8. And then adding that, whatever that number is, number X, it's not going to increase, but it is gonna increase, the percentage is gonna go up, right? Like, so it's not gonna be a 2.2% increase. It's gonna be more than that because of the money added to the budget, right?
Correct. For every subsidiary warrant article, for every separate warrant article that's brought forward, it will change the dollar amount of the entire budget. So yes, conceivably the percentage will change, assuming that the constituents approve the warrant article, right? So, I mean, historically, the folks of Fall Mountain have approved the union warrant articles, although there have been occasions where they didn't. But, so yes, there's an assumption there, assuming that the warrant article passes, that would be added to the bottom line of the budget. And the percentage of increase would change. And often, therein lies sometimes the rub that when people approve multiple year agreements, like with the Fall Mountain support staff, right? They have to look at each one of the different fiscal years and say, this is going to be added to the next year out or the third year out, right? It's not like it's a one-time deal. It's that deal plus whatever other deals you're voting yes to.
So it might
yes.
not, and it is to the group, right? It might not be, I don't know if it's fair or not, or who it's fair to, but understanding as we're looking at reducing the tax rate, that we are potentially, and not narrowly potentially, we are asking the administration to make cuts to the budget, period. But we're also asking administration to make cuts to the budget because we understand that there's more money that's potentially coming in on the warrant. So,
I understand that, and I understand what you're saying, and I understand that I believe was also in the letter that was sent. I don't agree with that because the public needs to decide whether they're going to up the budget that's presented for what the operations are that we currently have, right? I mean, because if you're going to ask the administration to cut this budget every single time a union agreement comes up, I, as a business administrator, former business administrator, would not know how to totally handle that. Like, if you're going to say, if you're putting up these other 3 warrant articles for, who knows, putting in a new windows throughout a school that are going to cost 300 grand, and a warrant article to pay your paras another $300,000. Well, I want you to cut 600 grand to absorb that. I don't think that's going to be doable for multiple years in a row. Maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, I don't, I don't know. But, that's why the public, it's really important when we present warrant articles that are subsequent articles to say, this is the base budget cost, right? And anything you approve after that gets added to it, and this is how much it will cost. And so that's why with subsequent articles, the little mailer that goes out before the deliberative session says, it usually, or I'm pretty sure it does, it says, here's the budget presented by the budget committee, because you guys set the number, right? And we hopefully agree. And so this is this dollar amount, and this is how much it's going to affect taxes. And then here's the next warrant article, and this is how much it's going to affect taxes. And then with hopefully any of the building improvement articles, we can hopefully say, we're going to do windows at Walpole School, but guess what? They have revenue offset coming from over here, so it's not going to affect your taxes, right? So that's why it's so important, Amanda. It's a great question. And that's why it's so important to make those, individual designations on each one of the pieces that you're looking at. So you're correct. Absolutely. It will change if the other articles are approved.
All right,
Yeah.
no, and I know that we probably have the same discussion every year, but I appreciate you walking that through, because it's a lot, and I just appreciate that, so thank you.
No, it's a good question. It's a good one to repeat, because again, like I said before, when people are voting multiple year warrant articles, it's often the part that's forgotten, right? If we say yes to it this year, we have to remember it's yes to this year and the next year and whatever other years, right? And that's a given, because that's a contractual agreement that you can't say no to after that. So it's a great question.
In the years that I've been involved with the budget committee, we've never, I don't believe we've ever made a recommendation to or said no, like we don't recommend a union agreement, right? I think we've always said yes, we do recommend that. What is the process? What happens if, so whatever, budget committee says, all right, we make our recommendations onto the warrant. If the voters say, no, we're not gonna approve the union contract, what's the process after that? Like, how do the teachers get paid?
So my
They're
understanding is
frozen in time.
The only movement you can have is if you increase your degrees. Like if you have a bachelor's and you earn your master's in the pre's, I think that's when they make that shift, if I'm understanding correctly. But other than that,
No,
like
there are no advancements, not even track advancements.
and then it stays like that.
Because it's all under contract.
Right.
And then the next time they would vote is the following March, because everybody has to vote on it. So you would, okay, so you're not renegotiating until next March.
It depends.
Okay, that's a
If-
great lawyer.
So, if you put a subsidiary article on, okay, Fall Mountain has not done this historically, but some districts do. There is another warrant article that can be put on the ballot that says if the union agreement fails, it allows the administration to renegotiate within a certain period of time and bring another vote. We historically have not put that on, but it can be done.
Okay. And I'm not suggesting that that's what our recommendation should be. I'm just trying to understand what all of the pieces are. That's all. Okay.
I will confirm for you that the school board did tentatively agree. I haven't heard whether the union has had anything agreed yet, so I don't have that information for you.
Absolutely. Okay.
So
I want to talk about timeline.
I want to talk about, if the board's looking at, clubs and why we mentioned that
Okay, go ahead.
is, I think, and I've asked this question and, I had some good conversations with Jamie over the years about it, and coming up on teachers, number of students. Well, I think we have to say the same thing for clubs. There has to be a lock-in. You can't have a club if you can't get 15. I'm not sure what the number is, but I would think it just makes sense to me. I'm not sure. That's how I would look at that. And that's why I think we put that in. We think the cost, those types of issues should be looked at. The board should make a policy. It shouldn't be 6, shouldn't be 5, but that's my opinion. And then I think, is that it? The surplus thing. I mean, that's the hardest thing to look for is all of the surpluses. I just pointed it out, ag, 50 some odd thousand. I mean, just seems that process should change. I'm not saying get rid of ag. I'm just saying maybe the petting zoo type of stuff, but we also have 25,000 in cooking class expenses. How much flour and pastries are you guys baking? I mean, are they flying to do filet mignon in France? Just curious.
It's really good.
So, and there's $3,000 for a calculator in math. I just for a calculator?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm just questioning it because I don't have a $3,000 calculator. I'm sure that's really
I'm sure
advanced.
it's more than one.
Yes, it's 3, I think, 3 for 1,000 each.
Yeah. The
The teachers.
So what type of I'm just asking. What?
I don't know specifically, but I know that those graphing calculators are stupid expensive.
Okay.
They were well over 100 in
That's a-
1987.
And that's a technical term.
Okay.
Right,
But it's one that I know, Sarah, very.
I think we retired graphic calculators 10 years ago.
Right.
But-
The TI.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think we retired those a long time ago.
That was hard to.
I think for me, it was really a lot to look at on that, in the surplus, supplies line items. 8,000 for 8 kids to go to Washington DC. I know there's a lot of other clubs that try to raise it themselves to go places. I just hope the board realizes that in those supply lines, there's a lot. I think of I just question. And we're not questioning number 2 pencils, which I like to do, as long as you only get 1 box each. But the point being that there are some items in there, we were all like, what, it's just common sense. What is it? Why? And when other programs are perhaps raising the money themselves, shouldn't this, if it's a trip to DC, maybe be the same thing? Maybe they should raise the money? I don't know.
That's not a club, I just wanna clarify.
No, that isn't. It's a class.
It is class.
Yeah.
Just,
So I
They
know.
are
the class-
raising money for themselves.
what's that?
And they are raising money for themselves.
Yeah.
Josh Beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They down from
But I
National
think,
History Week or something, they win awards and things like
Yeah.
that, so.
I
it's
think
the first time
particularly
I've seen
this,
that budget.
it's a hard time for the budget, right? We all know that.
Absolutely understood.
We all see that. I think
And
you gotta put aside some of the norms. You know, I haven't looked myself, but in the budget, I saw the wood shop wants to replace equipment this year, but this, it says part of normal rotation. You know, those kinds of statements to me, I worry about those, right? Because, you know, I know how long machinery lasts. We should be getting 20, 30 years out of them, right? And if we're replacing them because, well, they're 5 years old, we gotta replace them. That's, right now, that's not the time to do that. You do that when you've got money to spend, right? You don't have money to spend right now, right? So that's one area that I think, you know, those are the kinds of things now. If you wanna get down to small incremental changes that may add up to $150,000 without affecting programming, that's where you have to be. You have to look at this thing with a scalpel now and just say, okay, you know, same thing, do we have to replace all the Chromebooks in 1 year? Can we split them up into 2 years? So we don't have such a big impact each year. I know we have to replace 400 plus Chromebooks this year, going into next year. Maybe we could do something else there. Okay,
I just wanna share that I think there is discussion about extending the rotation, doing fewer
Yeah.
each year and making, I think it's a 5-year that they're looking at.
right.
They're also doing the same with the bus leases, making
Yeah.
8 instead of
And-
7. And so those, they are looking at those things,
Yeah.
all of those small $8,000 appropriations, $5,000
Yeah,
appropriations.
and I think once we go through that, you're gonna see a number come up that's gonna be a little bit on the high side, I think. When it comes to buses, just to consider, maybe if it's a Walpole bus or a Langdon bus, that they get pushed out a year. Because if the withdrawals go through, we're not gonna need those buses. I think they'll go out and hire another bus company. But that's just another way of looking at this and saying, okay, I got a difficult budget year to get through. What can I do without having big effect on programming? I think we can do it. I think we can get another 1.5 million out of this without hurting anybody. I don't know about the 7 full-time equivalents. I trust your judgment, but I'd like to, we need to dig deeper into that a little bit. But there's certainly some positions. I just wanna make sure that, from my perspective, it's not teachers, it's across the board, it's everybody as a whole. Doesn't have to be teachers, it could be administrative costs up at the top level, or as I see declining enrollment. And I see the schools maintaining their budget, and I see this high school and administration budget, SAU budgets getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You have to question that, what's going on up at those levels? Do we really need to have so many full-time people at the SAU office when we had higher student populations, we only had a part-time HR person. Now we've got, what, 1.5 or 1 3/4 or something like that. I think you have to ask those questions now in this particularly difficult time. I don't know if Sullivan County has put out their tax rates yet or increases, but Cheshire County is going up almost 9%. So we start adding that into 11% in Walpole for school. And the town tax is gonna go up a little bit, and, you know, by the time I'm done, we're gonna see, you know, an 18% increase in our tax rate, so. It's a big number, and I can imagine Charlestown's gonna be even worse. So,
So,
and I think Charlestown rang a bell. I think you're now the highest school tax in the state.
we have been for a while,
Yeah, I think there was somebody above you there for a little while, but
only after we had our reassessment a few years ago, but
Yeah.
it came back.
yeah, so, a little ring, so.
We've been ringing that bell for a long time.
That's a lot of coin. So, I think we have to be diligent.
Timeline. You guys I've gone to the administration and administration's reworking some numbers.
They meet tomorrow.
They meet tomorrow, okay. Um. When. Guys, remind me, when do we have to have our, final number?
The budget hearing is the 14th. So we have to have all the warrant information by the 3rd of
January.
I believe we have a joint meeting to discuss recommendations on numbers, don't we? On like the 7th?
That's what I just pulled up as well. So the school board will be having our regular meeting on the 5th. On the 7th, we have a joint meeting with the budget committee scheduled. I think is that your normal meeting time?
I believe it's our next meeting.
Okay. So then we have our regular meeting on the 12th and the budget hearing on the 14th. So
we have from now until the 7th to meet in the middle. To figure it, or to figure it out, right, like but to come up with a number, right? And I second what Jamie had said earlier about I really want the budget committee and the school board to agree on the number because it makes it that much easier and clearer for everybody who votes. And we've done it in the past, so I feel like we can do it. So that's what I want. I want us to agree. So if the administration meets tomorrow, they're gonna produce some numbers. And then do we need, I guess my question is, I don't know when we do this, but we have to look at the number and we have to see where we are and if we're comfortable with what they come up with. And I think that we should do that before the joint meeting on the 7th and somehow communicate that to the school board so that going into the 7th, we either know that we're not on the same page and we have discussion and then get on the same page, or so we're not going into the 7th and having a, mic drop session and walk out. Like, that's what I personally don't want that.
So the 7th is exactly 3 weeks from today. So are we looking to schedule another meeting or?
What does everybody else think?
I think the first thing is to get something from,
We would need data.
I know the administration's meeting tomorrow, right? I'm assuming, is it gonna wait to the next board meeting before it gets looked at, or can it be looked at earlier, or?
I will make sure it gets looked at earlier.
Yeah, even if they write draft across it or unapproved across it, but we have to have the starting number, right? Because it doesn't do us any good to sit here and say, well, we'll take the superintendent out if you've already done it. Right?
Lori, you confirm that 208,000 is not in the budget.
Okay.
The one C version.
Right, it doesn't make sense, right? Because we're trying to get to a number and you've already gone halfway to it or 25% there. It changes the picture a little bit, right?
So when they meet, Alyssa, so they're meeting tomorrow and then they're gonna give it to you guys. When? Do you know?
Well, our next meeting is the 5th of January.
Okay,
I will have a conversation tomorrow.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So I will send it out, to you for dissemination. And I'll let you know what's going to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cause
gives us a baseline to start from, at least without looking for things that have already been done.
Right.
It makes it hard.
Or showing up on the 7th and being like, no, well, we want this, and we say, well, no, we don't, and.
Yeah,
Right,
it goes back
we
and forth.
end up with a little more,
discourse.
yeah, we don't wanna do this, we wanna at least know where we all stand.
even more exciting stuff, because a lot later than we used to, but.
Alyssa?
We should be getting it, so we can analyze.
Could you kind of push that we don't get the data on the 6th?
No, I will make sure that,
So we can just thoroughly review.
Or on the 7th.
Right, yeah, not at the beginning of the meeting.
Cause that just makes it so we're not even utilized correctly when we get data almost post sequence.
Absolutely understood. It's a struggle. And we don't want that to continue either.
Okay. So then,
Oop.
oh, go
Just a
ahead,
quick
sorry.
question.
Yeah.
Chris, did you generate your own information on the class sizes, or was that given to you by the administration, or
No, I generated my own spreadsheets.
No, he's asking,
Oh.
how'd you got your data?
did you?
Where'd you get your numbers?
Oh, I got it all from, Lori, all stuff that was provided to us.
Okay, so you
Yep.
didn't extract information and create a separate spreadsheet on something?
There's a file in the budget.
Yeah, there's a
binder.
file. It's called a staffing worksheet provided by who's the principal? My name is Sarah, provided by Sarah to Lori, and Lori gave it to us.
That's it.
Right.
Good job, Mark.
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you have a whole budget for it.
Okay.
So then they're gonna get us, I think, right, that they're gonna get us, this is kind of talking about timeline. We're gonna get the information. When we get the information, we need 24 hours to warn a meeting.
Yes.
So we need to get the information, and then we probably are gonna need a quick turnaround to look and then meet to discuss before. But so that we can all be on the same page before we go to a meeting. It's my 2 cents.
I think it's a good 2 cents.
Thanks.
Worth a
It's
nickel.
worth a nickel.
Okay,
Sounds good.
So do we want to like discuss Friday the 2nd
yeah.
now, or if the board's meeting on the 5th?
My only fear is that the board might not even have the data if their meeting's not till the 5th. I don't know how long it'll take the admin.
So then why don't we just book it for the
Right, but
2nd?
what Alyssa's saying is that we would ask the administration to try to finalize and get the data to you in a draft format. As long as when they send it to you, they send it to us at the same time. I mean, we
Yep.
can have that conversation with them, but, and I don't know who's on vacation when, because we're approaching Christmas, even though it doesn't feel like that to me.
Right?
I think we need to say,
Go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead, hon. No, I mean, I think we need to try to hang some dates on it, right?
Oh, let's do it
I
then.
agree.
Okay, so I'm okay with Friday the 2nd.
Second,
6?
Friday the 2nd at 6.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I'm adding it to my calendar as we speak.
Okay. School is out that day.
That
School
way,
is not-
I can put it in mine too. Yeah.
do
So
we
when
need
when
to-
Alyssa and everybody talks together, they can at least let Lori know what we're trying to accomplish and that you want to have it ahead of that date. Right?
Good idea. Yes.
Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Ryan brought up a good point.
I was just wondering if we needed to discuss a location if the school was going to be closed for Christmas break on Friday the 2nd.
Go to Walpole. Oh, sorry.
we can use the Hooper Institute again, that's fine. To use the main building if there's nothing booked in it, which I don't know.
So you could look and get
I
back to
can,
us.
yeah, I can look tomorrow, but Hooper is available.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, so then we're gonna get the information from administration. We're gonna meet on the 2nd at 6, location to be decided at this time. And then we have a joint meeting on the 7th, where we are going to come up with, we're gonna put our number down on paper. Okay.
All right,
Further discussion on this? Hearing none.
Have to zoom in on the 6th. Wait. I'm gonna have to move it. I'm gonna have to zoom in on the 6th. So can we just make sure I can either like Zoom in with you or Google Meet with you or something on the 6th?
the second,
Second.
Jamie,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, on the 2nd at 6, right, sorry.
sure I
The
have an owl.
2nd at 6. Okay,
I'll bring an owl.
thank you.
Eric. No more discussion on that, I'll take a motion to skip review of the high school budget, because we dove into it quite a bit and it is getting late.
Yep. So moved.
Second,
Any opposed? All those in favor?
Aye.
I do not have a report from the administration. If anybody else has ones, they're welcome to share it with us right now. Moving on. Any new business to become before this meeting? I always carry communications to the school board, but since the majority, or not the majority, but since there was a large presence, I feel like we've communicated effectively with them tonight. So,
Appreciate you coming.
yes, thank you very much for your time.
That's a good cause.
With that being said,
I move to adjourn at 7:51 PM.
Second.
second, any opposed? Meeting adjourned.